take a look at ASML, one of the stocks that Ali was just talking about there. ASML shares are under pressure. Now, this comes after Europe's biggest tech firm's net sales fell nearly 22% compared to just a year ago. Now, to break this all down and the tech giant's earnings and what it means for the broader chip sector, we want to bring in Versteeg, Insinger, Gillissen's equities senior analyst is here to discuss. It's great to have you here on Yahoo Finance. So first, just give us your reaction to that drop that we're seeing in shares of ASML and what this really signals maybe about lack of demand or maybe worry about demand here going forward.
No, that's absolutely not the case. There's absolutely no lack of demand. And you also already said it, that the order flow is always very, very lumpy. Just remember that in the last quarter of 2023, there was an order inflow of more than 9 billion. And in the second half of the year, 13 billion. So it's just lumpy. And ASML already said for a long time that you never look too close to the order inflow because, it doesn't say too much. It absolutely doesn't express that the market is weak at the moment.
So do you think the market's getting it wrong then, the fact that we're seeing this drop of 5%, if you're not worried at all about that this doesn't throw any cold water on the optimism for 2025?
Yeah, absolutely. They also said it, and I'm absolutely not shocked by it. But if you look to the semiconductor monthly sales, like the SIA always produces, you'll see that the upturn is a little bit hesitating. We see for 4 months in a row year-on-year growth, but the last 2 months it was declining a little bit, the semiconductor sales. So the market could be a little bit hesitating. And then when you see this order inflow of ASML, I can understand that people get shocked. But ASML already also said sometimes that it could be that there is an order and they are already working on an order, and still the order is not officially checked in. Sometimes even when they are on the point of exporting it to the client, it's still not signed, because when you sign the order, you have to pay a down payment, and sometimes it's difficult to pay that down payment. So order inflow, I just say don't look at it. It's just the long term, and they were very, very positive about the long term. Still for 2025, they said they only need 4 billion for the coming 3 quarters. So 4 billion per quarter, only 12 billion, to get a revenue of about 35 billion in 2025, and that's 30% higher than 2024. So no worries for ASML for me.
I think what a lot of investors are trying to figure out is how long of a tail does the AI trade have with relation to ASML in comparison to some of the other large semiconductor plays that are out there right now?
Yeah, I think this will continue for many, many years. They already made an estimate for 2030 that in the coming years, the semiconductor market will double to more than 1 billion, but it's 1,000 billion, I think. So today it's 500 billion worth. So it will double in 2030. That will be a growth of more than 10%. So the market is very good for semiconductors. There's lots of demand for logic in the AI chips, but also for memory in the AI chips. High bandwidth memory. There's a lot of demand there. So I'm absolutely not worried about demand for ASML in the long run, especially when you look to AI. But also, we see a very strong trend of electrification. We try to get our energy from windmills and from the sun. And you also need a lot of semiconductors for that. We see a strong trend in electric vehicles. So there's a very strong long-term demand for semiconductors, and ASML is exactly in the right spot, I think.
Yeah, talk to us just about what the pricing strategy looks like here going out and some of the pricing trends that you're comparing to when you take a look at what ASML is able to produce here, how that stacks up to some of its rivals within the space.
Well, actually, they actually don't have rivals. They are the only ones who can produce the most advanced machines. They still have Nikon and Canon in Japan, but they only produce low-end machines. And there are no real competitors. Pricing for ASML has everything to do with how good the machine works. And they just made a new machine, which works very, very well, is much more efficient than the other machines. So they can ask a higher price for that. And most of the clients, especially all the clients, are happy to pay a higher price if the machine is more productive.
And so I guess that's the key question here too, is that if you have enough clients that are willing to produce what they need to with the lithography system and then resell, there's kind of that secondary market of used equipment rather than just having to buy a brand new lithography system. And I think that was something that was a concern prior.
Yeah, sometimes it can be in the short term, but I think the reuse of systems is a very small market, and it's not anything to worry about that for ASML. The point is actually that these machines, they are good for a very long time. Nearly all the machines, the modern machines from the 90s, I think, are still working. So there is a market for reuse of the machines, but it's very small. It's never a big concern for ASML.
Yes, I'm curious just in regards to the U.S. crackdown on China when it comes to access to chips, and also Europe being brought in to some degree into the standoff that's happening right now, or the tensions that are rising between the U.S. and China. How exposed is ASML, just given the fact that they do rely on China for a large portion of their business? Is this something that's worrisome to you at all? And if not, why?
Yeah, that's a good question, because when you look at the revenue from system sales, it was nearly half of the revenue of China. But that had everything to do with the low revenue in the first quarter. From the fourth quarter last year to the first quarter now was a decline of about 30%. And when you look to the revenue part of TSMC, Taiwan, it was only 6%. So the biggest client had only 6% revenue in the first quarter. So, and that makes it that China is relatively big in this quarter. But normally it is about 20% or so from the total revenue of ASML. And then ASML is still able to sell lower end machines and mid-critical machines to Chinese companies. And it's only about the high end machines. And there it is a little bit trouble. And when you look at that in revenue amount, then it's about 5% or less. So China is not a big worry, and they always say, like, if they don't build it in China, the high-end chips they will build somewhere else. And I think about half of the chip companies in China are foreign companies, and they will go out China. So it will only be the lower-end Chinese companies, and they buy the lower-end machines, and they will still buy it for a long time. And they're very much investing in it, so they want to really to win that market. So they invest a lot of these lower-end machines.
All right, top trending ticker on the Yahoo Finance platform just reported earnings, and they're expecting 2024 total net sales to be similar to 2023. We'll see what they put forward and continue to give us updates on Versteeg. We certainly appreciate the conversation this morning. Insinger, Gilissen, Equity Senior Analyst. Thank you.